Do we have everyone back? Okay. So far we've been playing with attention. Would it be fair to say that there is a lot of nuances to what kind of attention that you have? Would that be fair to say? And we've only begun to skim the surface of this. We'll be looking at this sort of thing a little bit more fully as the days progress. The next part of the ABS formula, in terms of creating hypnosis easily, is B, which stands for? Bypass the critical factor, right? The critical factor is just that part of the mind that likes to reject ideas, say no, shut off. It keeps the person safe, it helps them to analyze certain events, but it also keeps the person limited. It keeps them the same. Make sense? This is the nutshell version, so there are other nuances of it too. There are many ways to bypass the critical factor. We'll be looking at most of them over the course of the next 10 days. There's language, there's frame setting, there's interactions and so on. The simplest, the quickest, and in some respects the easiest, the one we'll be focusing on right now, is shock or surprise. Basically, the mind does not know what to do with the new information for a while, so the filters go off, they pop into a little trance for a while to figure out what's going on, and then when they made up their mind, they come back out again. You can help them make up their mind in the process. Does that make sense to you guys? So what we're going to do now is we're going to practice the shock, but we want to do it safely. Can I borrow you, Alex, a second, just to get the right height for me? Right? The reason we use Alex here is because I don't want you to shock Alex this way. He's come a long way to see us, and it's just not nice. Did you expect that?
No, I didn't.
It was a bit of a shock, wasn't it? Right? Hopefully, that is the only time you'll ever see something like that being performed. Right? When I talk about shock, all I'm talking about is when you have your hand on the back of the head, just maybe it's a tiny little finger. All I'm going to do is just imagine I'm going to tap this. You see there's a tiny little nudge? There's nothing more than that. I do not want whiplash. Right? It's a little bit more dramatic than I thought it would be, right?
Yeah.
So all we're going to do now, once you have the compliance thing, so stand over here for just a second. At this point, you should be distrusting me. I lost his trust, right? I negated it. Then you get the whole focus thing and so on. And then all we're going to do now is you're going to just practice a few times. You don't even have to guide it all the way through. You're just going to practice tipping the head forward. Do you notice how, on its own, it doesn't go very far? All I'm doing is I'm just using my middle finger. You can use any finger, it doesn't really matter which one it is. But the point is, I'm just moving it forward. I'm just tapping it. I'm just getting a tiny jolt. And let me just emphasize the smallness of the jolt that's involved. All right? The more fragile the individual, the less is required of you, right? Especially the more fragile they are and the bigger and heavier you are, the less is required of you. Let me just emphasize that for safety reasons, right? We had one gentleman in one of the mentoring groups who's huge. He said, I can't do introductions. And that's because he usually tore people's heads off in the process. We had to fix that. But it worked out pretty well. So from here, right? Just a tiny little thing here. Just do it 3 or 4 times so nobody feels like. And on the 4th or 3rd time, just guide the head in. Now notice, I am not forcing his head in on the initial jolt. I'm not going like this and making it come all the way down. No. I'm providing the jolt, and then I'm just steering his body into the position. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's a very important thing. It looks, do you see how the whole thing looks like? Over here, we're just standing here a second. Look at me. And sleep all the way. That's right. Deeper. There you go. Deeper, deeper, and deeper. Now, it looks like I forced his head onto my shoulder, doesn't it? Yes. I did not. Let me re-emphasize that. That is not what I did. I created a slight jolt, and whilst in that state of like, what the hell's going on, I guide his head. In other words, I create like a funnel, and I gently guide into the shoulder. And you can go deeper still. That's right. All the way back. 1, 2, 3. Wide awake. Good job. Well done.
Thank you.
Give him a nice round of applause. So do you understand the mechanics of that? The way I like to practice it, the way we did here a moment ago, the setup is exactly as we did before. We'll still have a few people every now and again being non-compliant. All I want you to do is have that little tap on the back of the head. Just do it 3, 4 times, so you'll see them basically readjust their balance slightly, right? It should not be a massive shift. It should just be a little jolt, right? Once you've seen that 3 or 4 times, then time it so that as soon as that jolt occurs, you just gently continue that momentum towards your shoulder. And it is gentle. Is that easy, guys? Sure. Do you all know what you're doing? If people have eyeglasses on, now would be the time to ask them to remove them. If you want to leave them on your chairs, that's fine. Otherwise, it's good practice when you meet someone. Say, let me just take care of these glasses. Put them in your pocket whilst you do this. Hand them back again afterwards. Easy, guys? Off you go. No need to use any words. Just right now, we're just practicing the physical motion. Off you go.